Today I'm going to show you how to make authentic hot cross buns. This is a recipe from Paul Hollywood's How to Bake book. You have to make the bread, you have to wait for it to rise, you have to incorporate all your fruit, you have to wait for it to rise again. You then divide them into the bun sizes and they rise for a third time. You bake them in the oven with the cross piped on there. So they're not the most simple thing to make. For sure, nipping into Asda and buying a pack of their hot cross buns would be so much easier, but there's no way that the Asda ones are going to taste anywhere near as good as these. The smell is amazing and they are light, they are full of fruit, you know what's gone in them. So let's take a look to see what we do to turn some simple ingredients into some amazing looking, authentic, traditional hot cross buns. First thing we need to do is add our flour, which is 500 grams. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the recipe right at the end, and I'm going to put all the imperial and metric conversions on there, because half of the time I get them mixed up and then I have to correct myself. So 500 grams of flour, and that is strong bread flour. Okay. We then need 10 grams of salt and 10 grams of yeast, and we want to put those at the opposite sides of the bowl. We don't want the salt to come in direct contact with the yeast, because there is a chance we could kill the yeast before we've even started. So that's 10 grams of each, 75 grams of caster sugar. Then we have got 40 grams of softened salted butter. So the way I soften it is I just pop it into the microwave for a few seconds. We then add 2 eggs which have been beaten, (120 mils of full fat milk, which is warm, so that's not hot, it's just warm to the touch. And we have 120 mils of water. Now you have to be careful here that we don't overdo it with the water. We want the mixture to be soft and pliable, but we don't want it to be wet and sloppy. So don't add all the water at once. Just add half of it, and then you can add some more if you need to. You might need more than 120 mil, you might need a little bit less. All flours are a little bit different, so this is just not a trial and error, but a suck it and see type of thing, you know. We have to see what we've got. So then we get our bowl going. I'm using a spoon, you can get your fingers straight in if you wish, but it's a bit sloppy to start with, so let's get it turned around, let's get it combined, and we'll see that start to come together. Okay, we can see that that's a little bit dry. So we're going to add a bit more water, maybe just half of what's left. Give it another mix. Now I'm going to get my fingers dirty. We're going in. I'll clean that off. You start to feel the difference in the mixture when you start to combine it together, and you pick up all the loose bits that are in the bowl. If it starts to feel dry, it should feel a little bit sticky, as you can see, but if it starts to feel dry, that's when you probably need to add a little bit more water. You certainly don't want it to be sloppy either. So if I were to say, would you rather a little bit dry or a little bit sloppy? I would say a little bit sloppy, a little bit wet, rather than too dry. Because you can always add a little bit more flour. Certainly when you're going to be kneading it, you can put more flour on to dry it up a little bit. So I would err on the side of caution. I think that is not far away from me, I think. That's about right. It's just got that stick to it, but it's certainly not a thick, what I would call thick and heavy. So I think I added, maybe I only added 100 ml there, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I can always add a bit more, but that feels okay for me. Next thing, we're going to tick this out onto a floured surface, and we're going to knead minimum 10 minutes. Take a look at your clock, 11:03. We just want to knead this. We're going to turn it from a paste into a pliable dough, a stretchable dough. That's what we want. All that gluten in the flour, we want to activate it, we want to start to release it and make it strong so that this bread can rise and keep its structure when we bake it in the oven. So this is the bit you don't skimp on. And you might have a machine that does this for you. You might have a KitchenAid, and you just put it on and set it going and sit down, have a cup of tea. But I think this is the fun bit. It's a good workout. So that's our 10 minutes up. It's feeling good. It's not too dry, not too sticky. See, it's starting to form a skin, which is just what we want. So that I think is done. What we need to do now is get a bowl, and some, when I can find it, a little bit of olive oil. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm just going to get a little bit of kitchen paper. Just going to lightly oil the inside of our bowl. And our bread dough goes in there. We get a tea towel. We're going to cover that and leave it in a warm place for a minimum of an hour. 2 or 3 hours are even better, but as an absolute minimum, you want that bread dough to double in size. So we'll take a look at it now, and then we'll take a look at it in a couple of hours, and we're going to want to at least double in size. So this bit you cannot rush. This is where patience is needed, because if you don't allow the yeast to do its work and you get the structure in the bread, you're not going to have good hot cross buns. So we have now got 11:15. I'm not even going to look at this until 1:15. This is going to get 2 hours. 3 hours has passed. I did have a look at my bread dough, my hot cross bun dough, I guess. It's not really bread dough, but I looked at it after 2 hours and it had not doubled in size. So I was patient. I put the tea towel back on and I moved it to a warmer spot and left it another hour. So it's had 3 hours and we're just about doubled in size. So the next thing to do is to incorporate the fruit. So here we have the zest from an orange and a lemon, 150 grams of sultanas, which are golden raisins in the US, 80 grams of mixed peel. So this is mixed peel that I've made myself. I will put the link at the end of the video to the video for making this mixed peel. You don't have to make your own, you can buy used bought from a supermarket, but this tastes much better. And then here, which is quite unusual, I think this is unique to a Paul Hollywood recipe, is we've got diced apple. So this is a Granny Smith or a dessert apple, and it's been peeled and cored and then cut quite finely. I've sort of cut it to the same size as the mixed peel and the sultanas. And what it says in the book is that this adds moisture and texture to the hot cross buns, which I think is quite unique. You obviously wouldn't get apple in a hot cross bun from Greggs or Tesco's or whatever, so I think that'll be nice. And then you need 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I'm going to be very careful with that, and I'm going to make sure I measure it accurately, because I don't want to overpower the hot cross buns with cinnamon, so I'm going to make sure it's exactly 2 teaspoons. Not too much. Tip this guy out if he wants to come out. I'm just going to put that over there. And this is where we knock the air out. And we add our fruits. So this is our zest gone in. Next to go in will be the sultanas. Candied peel in there. Very carefully measure the cinnamon out. I would rather be a little bit less than a little bit too much. After a couple of minutes, finally got all the fruit in. I did think at one point it weren't going to fit, but we managed to get it in there. And now what we've got to do is exercise some more patience. And we have to put that back into our bowl and wait another hour. So it's now 2:30. We come back at 3:30. And then we're getting closer, but we're not done yet. That's our dough gone in. When another hour has passed, your hot cross bun dough should have risen again, and we want to now put this onto a lightly floured surface again. And knock all the air out. There's a chance to fold it in again. You want to try and shape it so that you can divide it into 12 fairly even sized balls. I want to about 5 inches here. Should be about 5 inches each, yep. So each one of these wants to inches. And then we place them on the baking tray, and in the book it says fairly close together, so not very descriptive about what is fairly close together. Certainly not touching. These are gonna double in size, so you have to sort of plan for that. And I would say fairly close together. I'm going to put them finger width apart. So a little bit more patience is needed. We're not quite done, we're not quite ready for the oven, we've got another hour to wait. So we're now at, or at least until they've doubled in size. And what we do is we put them inside a clean plastic bag. To protect them. Wait one more hour. While your hot cross buns are rising for the third time, you need to prepare a paste to make the crosses on top of it, and you will need a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, I have seen in a Delia Smith recipe where she makes a paste, rolls it out and cuts it into strips. I'm going to have a go with a piping bag. It's not something I've ever used before, so as I always say, let's give it a go. So I have got 75 grams of plain flour in here, and you need to add approximately 75 grams of water to make it into a pipeable paste. So I don't know how you would even begin to think about rolling that out, so maybe you'd have to make it a bit thicker, but that's what Delia says. But Hollywood wants you to pipe it out, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. I'll give it a go. I don't think this adds any flavour, it just makes them look like authentic traditional hot cross buns. Okay, that's gone pretty smooth. So when I'm ready, I'm going to put this into the piping bag and pipe it onto the buns before they go into the oven. Speaking of the oven, we've got half an hour to go. You want to start thinking about preheating the oven. So it's 220 degrees Celsius. So I'll probably put that on in about 15 minutes, give it a chance to get warmed up. Well, my hot crust buns have been in the bag for just a little bit over an hour. I took a little peek and they're not quite doubled in size, so I left them a little bit longer. Now the tricky part, getting them out of the bag without them completely sticking to the bag. Okay, so they're not a perfect shape, but they're okay, I think. Some have not quite doubled and touched, but this is a bit that I'm not going to be very good at, piping across the top of the. Okay, that'll do. We'll give them a go. So they need to go in the oven for 20 minutes, so I'll take a look at these at 1/4 past. Mine might need a little bit longer because I have an insulated baking tray, so I will take a look, see what they look like. I think they're just like cooking bread, so you need them to spring back quickly. If you push them and it feels a little bit doughy, they're not quite cooked. So in the oven they're going to go. My time is up, and it took almost exactly 20 minutes, and this is what we end up with. To somehow get these onto a cooling rack. These smell absolutely fabulous, by the way. I just want to say they might not win style awards. My crosses are not the best, but they smell absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to try one. Bring these in. So what we have in this bowl, I've got a little bit of orange marmalade. In the book, Paul Hollywood suggests using apricot jam. There's already oranges in here, so I think marmalade is a good substitute. And in Delia's book, she uses sugar water, so I think it's sort of up to you. But you want to get a good glaze on these while they're hot. Then you can have some fantastic tasting hot cross buns. So there we go. I think they look great. They smell fantastic, and I can't wait to give them a try.